Hello and welcome to this broadcast of Running on Love with God. My name is Lori Michelle, and I was awakened to the voice of our Creator in April of 2009. He said, go get pen and paper and start writing this down, and I listened. And here I am all these years later broadcasting these weekly programs to shed light on very important topics. I'm broadcasting from Israel today, and my friend Anne-Marie is in Chicago. Hi, Anne-Marie. Today's program is about pollution and our environmental crisis. And I'll start the program with a Q&A question. And the question I'm going to pose today is, what will happen if we don't clean up our environment? And the answer is, we will all perish. Is that extreme? No, it's simply the truth.
Do you have any kind of a timeline for how long we have until the earth implodes on us?
Well, the good news is, and there is good news, Hashem God says that we will not implode because we will wake up. And that's a very beautiful New Year's Eve message. Today is New Year's Eve, December 31st, 2017. And as we head into the new year, he says there will be a worldwide awakening. And we will start to do the hard work of cleaning up the mess. It's a mess environmentally, and it's a mess worldwide in many areas. But if we do not clean up our environment, Anna-Marie, there would be nothing left. So to answer the question that you just posed, when will we implode? Gratefully, he says, you will all wake up and we will not implode. Happy
Good.
New Year.
But now you said we will all wake up. Does that mean that we're going to have regulations that everyone's going to follow and legislation that's going to help fix it? Or how is this going to happen?
The wake up that will occur is a worldwide recognition that there is a creator, God, and most of the world believes in God, in a creator, but nobody behaves like he's really watching us. And the awakening will occur when we recognize that he is real, that he is watching us, and that we are truly in peril and at risk of the world ending as we know it. So it's a double-edged sword, really. It's wake up or we'll perish. And if we don't perish, people will say, oh, well, it was a false alarm. And we'll just continue to do business as usual. It's a little like the program that we did, Anna-Marie, Are We God's Puppets? This is his world. He's real. And he said, we're not going to implode, so let's just business as usual, right? But it's not like that. It's really complicated in a way because it's his world, it's his way, or the highway. So while we won't implode, because he predicts that we will wake up, recognize he's real, and start getting it right and cleaning up this horrific mess, it's complicated because everyone who's listening to this will not be welcome in his world to come. So while it's a good news, bad news, really. And the bad news is for the people who won't wake up and won't get it right. Ultimately, we face destruction, but enough of us will wake up. We will begin to clean up this mess. And for those who refuse, it's over. They're no longer welcome here.
But getting back to the environment, things are so bad.
Yes.
It's going to take a huge, huge effort to get the world back to how it was. Where do
Well, first of all,
how does that happen?
I'm sorry, repeat that. You broke up a little bit.
Okay, I finished with where do we start and how does it happen that we're going to start making it better, start turning it around?
First of all, we need an acknowledgement of how bad it truly is. People are walking around in some sort of bubble, like they're zombies, like it's someone else's problem. And I posted a picture on Facebook, and it has over 1,000 people acknowledging and thumbs up. And it's this picture of this massive dump. And it says, God gave us everything, and look what we've done. We must save our world, or there'll be no one left to save. And it's the truth. It's really the truth. It's such an ungodly mess. What will it take? He says it will take over a millennium to clean up the horrific mess that we've created. It's that bad. And I sent you a link that had some statistics, if you wouldn't mind, Anne-Marie, reading a few of them, just to bring awareness of how horrible the condition of our world is in right now.
Yes. Every year, more people die from unsafe water than from all forms of violence, including war. Each year, 1.2 trillion gallons of untreated sewage, stormwater, and industrial waste are dumped into U.S. water. Every day, 2 million tons of sewage and industrial and agricultural waste are discharged into the world's water, the equivalent of the weight of the entire human population of 6.8 billion people.
I'm speechless. And that's just a few statistics. There were many more on that list. It's horrible. I walk around the Holy Land, Israel. It's beautiful, a beautiful Holy Land that God gave us, the Jewish people. And I live by the Sea of Galilee. And when I walk to the water's edge, there is trash that looks like this. The picture that I held up before. This kind of trash is all along the waterline of the Sea of Galilee, the Kinneret. The Sea of Galilee, the Kinneret, is where Israel gets the majority of its drinking water. What are we doing? And this is the Holy Land where we believe in Hashem God. And I see trash everywhere. I've taken bus rides from Tiberias, Israel, to Jerusalem. And along the route, the entire route, 2.5-hour bus ride, there's trash all along the highway. But it's not just Israel. And for people who love to trash and say disparaging things about Israel, I don't know if you just read some statistics about the United States, but the United States is very polluted. It doesn't look visually polluted everywhere.
Well, I'll give you an example. In my community, we get our drinking water from shallow aquifers. And so it's groundwater. And you see people out on their lawns dumping all kinds of chemicals into the ground. So where are they thinking those chemicals are going to end up?
In your drinking water, in your system, and people are fighting to find cures for cancer. Stop cancer. They're so angry about cancer. But is anybody asking, why are we all dying of cancer? Why is it record number of people being diagnosed daily with all kinds of cancers? So in order to correct the problem, we need to turn on a light switch, and that's what this program is about. Wake up. When you smoke a cigarette, if you don't even care about your own health, and you smoke the cigarette, and then you flick it, and it lands on the ground, where does it go? You're polluting the air. You're affecting people around you with your secondhand smoke. And you're dropping litter on the ground. when you're watering, you said they're putting chemicals on their lawn so that
Right.
I can have a beautiful lawn. But my neighbor is going to drink polluted water and, God forbid, get cancer. But let's bring God into this program, because this is running on love with God, Anna Marie. And I speak to him. And if this is real, he is watching us. And while I gave very uplifting information that there will be a wake up, not everybody will wake up. And not everybody will heed the call. And not everybody will make it into the world to come. But let's talk about who we are. If your neighbor doesn't care about you and only cares about his or her lawn today, and doesn't even care about his own children, right?
Right. It's his drinking water too. It's not
his
just
drinking water too. But maybe, all right, let's make something more egregiously greedy and evil than a green lawn. Okay? Let's say he works for one of these chemical manufacturing companies that makes millions of dollars by people who buy his chemicals to put on their lawn. ChemLawn, right? They were a big one. True.
yeah, they changed their name because people suddenly got the idea that putting chemicals on lawn wasn't a good thing.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah, they're still in business.
Okay. So let's say I'm Mr. ChemLawn or Mr. Chemical Manufacturer, any company name. And I make my salaries $30 million, $40 million a year. I don't know. Make it up. So he doesn't care right now about the environment, the drinking water, the cancer rate, the water, the climate change that we have spoken about. He doesn't care because, hey, this is my life. I have my Ferrari. I have my big house. And, I might live 100 years, 120 years. And, someone will figure it out. Right? But what you don't realize, people of the world, is we are the world. We are the future. And if you don't care about your neighbors and your children, you are the one who will, well, maybe at this point you might not be welcome in the world to come. But what I'm saying is we are spirit. We reincarnate over and over again. So we've been polluting the world, the water supply, the air, thinking it's someone else's problem, right? And let's say you died in 1960 and you made a fortune in fossil fuel, selling oil. Well, now you're 20 years old and you've reincarnated and now you need drinking water. Do you see? I don't know if I'm making myself clear, but you are polluting the world that you need to live in. So let me ask a question to the people who are working for the chemical manufacturers who don't seem to care. If you knew that you were throwing chemicals into water and that in a year or 2 or 3 from now, you wouldn't have any water to drink. You would die literally from drought or famine. Would you still do it? I'm asking the question. It's a
rhetorical question.
Rhetorical. There you go. Thank you. They think it's someone else's problem. That someone else is going to come clean it up. That they're going to live, and they'll have their riches and they'll have their castle in California, wherever they live. And it's someone else's problem, not my problem. YOLO, you only live once. I'll make my money and it's beautiful. What are you talking about? It's beautiful. I don't smell anything. I don't see any damage. My lawn is green. Everything's beautiful.
And that attitude has been working. There haven't been consequences.
But there are consequences. the consequence is, well, in 1985, my father died of a blood cancer. People are dying daily of cancer. And we're not thinking, we're just reacting. And we're making money on the illness.
Right.
So the drug manufacturers are making money on cancer. They don't have a motivation, really, to cure cancer. If all of a sudden everybody believes that God's going to come or send someone to say, whoop, 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 magic wand, it's all better, no cancer, no war, what are you going to do for a living?
Clean up the world.
Well, that's actually the next industry. He says a huge industry, if you're looking and you're young and you want to go into something that will have a good career path, cleaning up the world is one of them. Environmental science, because the world is in such a state of disrepair that he says it will take over a millennium to clean up the horror, including the impending war that we're facing right now, World War III. So the biggest wake up is he's real, he's watching you, and when you drop a piece of trash on the ground or when you put chemicals on your lawn, it has a consequence. There are no skeletons in your closet. You're being watched right now.
Then where do we start?
That's a very good question, because in Israel, there's hardly any recycling going on. It's horrific. And people drop trash everywhere. They're not conscious. It's a throwback to the 60s when we had the campaign in America, Clean Up America. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Don't be a litter bug. Romper room. Do be a doobie. Don't be a litter bug. We learned. They haven't really learned that here so much yet. And they're not recycling. So when I throw my trash out, I cringe. I literally say a prayer every time I throw my trash out, that people will wake up and there will be some form of industry that will clean up the mess. But what can we do now? I live in a place, there's virtually no recycling, so I bought one of these. Now, they do have recycling for plastic water bottles, and I do have plastic water bottles on occasion, but my consumption of them has dropped dramatically, and I recycle them whenever I use them. But I use this, and paper plates, plastic plates, I wash the dishes. But you might say, well, then what about the soap that goes into the water?
Right.
Hashem, God, has spoken to me about it, and when I panic over it, he says, you've got to calm down, because you are 1 out of 7.5 billion people, and it's like not even a finger in the dike.
Right.
Right. But it's a light bulb. I'm aware. I don't throw trash on the ground. I'm stopping with the water bottles. When I go to the supermarket, I bring my own wagon or bags. I don't use the plastic bags most of the time. Sometimes you go shopping and they put it in a plastic bag and you have to carry it out. But I reuse the plastic bags, and then there's a place to recycle them. We need to become much more efficient, and we need to be aware and start making better choices as an individual.
And that helps prevent things from getting worse.
Right.
But how does that help getting things better?
It's where I started this program, Anna Marie. There needs to be a worldwide recognition that this is not our world, that everything here is on loan. and everything is a gift. Our bodies, everything we touch is from God. And He has laws. And unless and until we start waking up one at a time to that awareness, once you're aware that He is real and watching you, you wouldn't take a tissue and throw it on the ground, right?
Right, you wouldn't.
So we need to start one person, one human being at a time, but it's going to require everybody collectively to join together. And as I said before, everybody will not heed the call. And I sound frightening, like the prophecy, right? You heed the call or you perish in a fiery inferno, or, it's the Christian language that I grew up with as a Jew that used to freak me out. Go away. But there's, right, go away. I'm not Christian, I'm Jewish. Leave me alone. But it's actual prophecy in Judaism too. I didn't realize that there are the end of days, and that's what this is right now. We are in the end of days, Anna Marie, and we are being judged, and people need to recognize that, but they're not listening yet. The alarm bell is going to get loud and clear, and right now you're experiencing some dramatic weather in America, right?
Well, at the moment, it's really, really cold.
Very cold. And there's been hurricanes and flooding. And it all looks like, accidental, or it's global warming or climate change. These are all part of His wake-up call. There is climate change due to some pollution, but there's changes that are natural too. But the pollution that we've created are exacerbating a lot of problems in our environment. And all of the wake-up calls that we will start to see, the calamities, man-made and God-made, are going to bring us to our knees collectively as one big human family. And, there's a lot of people who don't believe in God, and, it's happenstance. There are no accidents.
Are there Torah laws that cover the environment?
Oh, yes. And
Okay.
I was very surprised about it. There are even laws, and I'm not a Bible scholar or Torah scholar. I'm not a scientist either. So talking about scientific implications of pollution, I can't speak to it. But about a year ago, there was a Torah parsha where it was speaking about how you shouldn't cut down trees, living trees, fruit trees, in a time of war, that we need to protect our environment. There are many laws within Torah and Code of Jewish Law where we're supposed to protect God's world and the environment. And that's why it's so completely shocking to me when I walk around Israel and I see pollution and trash.
You said at the beginning of the show that the world was not going to implode, that we were going to wake up and figure out how to make things better. Is there some kind of a timeline for how quickly we need to start cleaning things up to prevent the world from imploding?
The world, as Hashem has told me, will begin to heed the call and start doing the hard work. This year, 2018, is the year He says that people will start to open their eyes. And then over the next few years, it will become louder and more prevalent, that people will be more aware of His presence. Part of the wake-up call is world war. And He says we're heading to World War III. a prophesized war. He says it cannot be stopped as much as we want to stop it. He can't stop it. He will not stop it, because if he were to intervene and take over, we would not have free will. So that's the timeline. Is he says he won't give me a date. There's no prophetic June 30th, the end of the world. No, he doesn't give me those dates. And the people who are prophesizing like that on the internet, it's really fear-mongering. It's not helpful. But we are heading to a world war, and we do have free will. But over the next few years, it's going to become more intense and increase around the world. The presence of God will be felt more prevalent around the world, and it will also, so it will be very joyous, but it will also be very scary. It's going to be both.
In addition to the coming world war, are we going to continue to have all the natural calamities and disasters that we've been experiencing?
He just said more.
Oh no.
You know, it's very hard to keep a smile on my face, but he helps me because he is awe. He's pure awe. He's pure love. He's wisdom. And he said all of these occurrences have to happen for us to wake up and understand how precious our lives are, how precious we are to each other, and to reach to each other in loving kindness. So while things are going to become intensely scary, they're going to become intensely euphoric at the same time. Because we'll be more aware of his love and his presence in our lives on a daily basis. Right now, we're just a bunch of bubbleheads, you know?
Right.
Let's go shopping, you know? Let's buy a new yacht if we're rich, or a new car. Yeah. Me, I have my little shopping wagon. I lost my SUV. I don't even have a car. But the greed is so overwhelming in this world. I read that last year, I think it was a year ago, Mark Zuckerberg, billionaire, had a couple of New Year's resolutions. One was to learn Mandarin orange. Okay, Mandarin Chinese. I was like, Mandarin oranges. He was going to learn Chinese, and he was going to invest in artificial intelligence for his mansion or wherever he lives. And I said, Hashem, that's so disgusting. There are people who don't have children who don't have shoes, people who don't have fresh water. I said, if he wants to walk into his home and turn on his lights, go get a clapper. You remember that? Lights on, lights off. And so that's really what I have to say is, wake up. You know, if you're wealthy, you should be giving more to people who don't have. If you're in industry, you should be very aware of what your company and your products are doing to our environment. And if you're drinking from water bottles and then throwing them away and not recycling, you should be thinking about that. Or go get one of these, right? Do your part. Wake up your neighbors. Wake up your friends. And tell them God is real, he's watching us, and this is the time to get it right. So I hope you found this interesting and enlightening, and go to my website, lauriemichelle.net. There are many more programs, not just about the environment and pollution, which is a #1 problem, but they're all #1 problems. We're heading to crisis, and also a very uplifting time where we need to understand he's real, he's watching you, and this is the time to get it right and work for world peace. Let's listen, learn, and work for peace. God bless you, and may 2018 be an eye-opening year where we all wake up and bring peace to our world in our time. God bless you.